time for our press preview, where we take a look at what's on the front pages as they come in. We begin with our sister publication this morning, and on its front page, probe panel accuses El-Rufai of diverting 423 billion naira. Ex-governor says he served with integrity. They're accusing the ex-governor of reckless award of contracts without due process. International Human Rights Commission's chief tips Enugu as fourth UN headquarters. And the federal government insists Binance executive complicit as 16 U.S. lawmakers accuse Nigeria of taking him hostage. At the top mast there, Bloomberg says Nigeria may suspend import levies on food to ease inflation. That's this day.
The Punch this morning has the leading photograph of Nigeria custom officers and a 3.9 billion naira pangolin worth of scales in Kebbi. But the big story on the front page this morning is that of the minimum wage. Finance Minister submits template to Tinubu today. Tripartite committee awaits templates to resume negotiation 2 p.m. Thursday.
Let's look at the Vanguard on its front page. Some stories there. FG's failure to make fresh offer stalls wage talks with some riders as Labour hits back at Ababio over allegation of economic sabotage. Says real saboteurs are political elites looting, abusing power. Government plans 6.6 trillion supplementary budget to fast-track economic growth to unbundle commercialized TCN. ASAP recommends 20 executive orders as last-track economy. U.S. lawmakers petition Biden, say Binance executive wrongfully detained by Nigeria. And just one or two other stories. Kaduna Assembly, El-Rufai tango over alleged diversion of 420 billion naira. And Edo Guba, why some politicians are angry with Obaseki.
On the front page of the New Telegraph this morning, its big story, reps to the federal government. We want living, not minimum wage for workers. They're also seeking downward review of electricity tariffs and ask security agencies to fish out killers of soldiers in Abia State. At the bottom there, Heritage Bank's loan exposure is 700 billion naira. 650 billion naira deposit that's coming from the NDIC. Alleged 423 billion naira diversion, Kaduna Assembly indicts the former governor El-Rufai. That's the New Telegraph.
The Guardian, cautious optimism as federal government unveils new fiscal deals to revive economy.
Daily Trust, Northern Senators McBain reject bill restricting herders movement. Proposed law driven by emotions. Pastoralist, ranching will end our clashes with herders. Niger mining pit collapse. 6 rescued, 14 still trapped. Stomach infrastructure more crucial to Nigerians now. That's coming from the former president Olusegun Obasanjo.
Let's take a look at the business day this morning. Some business news. Manufacturers turn lemons into lemonade with naira devaluation. It says how Wemi Dangote cement ride weaker currency to boost exports. That big story is on page 38 of Business Day. Meanwhile, it says just on the left there, after Lopobere's denial, Wale Edun, the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, says subsidy to go up 5.4 trillion naira. And analysts say pain of reform is in vain. That's Business Day.
The Citizen in South Africa this morning is leading with a question. Says, will ANC choose wisely? So we do understand that the ANC will present 3 possible scenarios for forming a government to its neck today after it failed to reach a 50% plus 1 majority at the just concluded election.
Still in South Africa, Business Day, ANC may reject coalition choice. Party likely to opt for minority rule over DA or EFF alliance, says sources.
Let's take a look at iPaper from the UK. It says, at last, the I-Paper, at last, a real plan to save Britain's rivers. Every political party in the UK is challenged to sign up to our manifesto and leave a legacy for generations to come. This is the big story on I-Paper. They say there's 5 pledges to aim to force political action and stop Britain's rivers being used as open sewers. You can see the 5 just on the front page there.
You would see the picture of the Queen moved to tears on the front pages of a lot of papers this morning, including the Daily Mail. The Daily Mail, great. As veterans move the Queen to tears at D-Day ceremony, King pays emotional tribute. Our eternal debt to the fallen heroes.
The Independent has a story, in fact, most of the foreign papers are talking about those heroes. In Independent, it says, Amanda Knox lander conviction upheld over Kecha murder. And the story about the Queen. Queen's tears for falling D-Day hero 80 years after Normandy landings. Treasury trashes Rishi Sunak over Labour tax claim.
The Financial Times this morning will begin just from the top there. The Jerusalem rally says Israelis claim presence in city. That's also the photo just beside that story. Starmer accuses Sunak of resorting to lies over Labour £2,000 tax rise claim. This was at the debate yesterday. And rank mounts after that debate. Treasury chief undermines Prime Minister's numbers. Meanwhile, Tories stick to assertion. At the bottom there, Prime Minister put forward US bosses Damon and Schmidt to gain honors.
Oh, while you will see the Queen emotional on the front pages today in commemoration of 80 years of D-Day, the Daily Express has a powerful image of Normandy. So that's 99-year-old, they captured it, hero's return. Here's Peter Smothy, he's 99. And he's on the Juno Beach in Normandy yesterday. Recall that this is 80 years. So Peter Smothy was 19 years old when they landed on this beach.
And on the front page of the Daily Telegraph, you still have the picture of Queen Camilla there. Royal tears of remembrance. The Daily Telegraph, yeah, you got it right. Hunt issues challenge to Starmer over taxes on property. Chancellor pledges not to raise capital gains tax, stamp duty, or cancel tax bans. Then just below there, you see reform closes gap on Tories to 2 points after Farage's return.
Similar leading photo on the front page of the Times this morning, that of the Queen, as she was among those moved by the D-Day commemorations that took place in Portsmouth yesterday. It says Royals lead emotional D-Day tributes. Another big story on the front page of the Times. Will tackle murder law, loopholes vow Tories. They say they will have tougher sentences for domestic abuse killers. That's the Times.
Well, let's bring in Lemi Igwebe for the analysis of some of these big stories on the front page for you this Thursday morning. Lemi, great to see you. It's good to see you again, Lemi. This day is leading with what's happening in Kaduna State. If you can throw light to that, probe panel is accusing El-Rufai of diverting, listen to the figure, Lemi, 423 billion naira. But the former governor is quick to respond. He says he served with integrity.
Everyone, yes, we expected it to get to this point because we saw where the current governor of Kaduna State, Senator Obasani, raised the alarm as to the debts that the state has to deal with, and now it's becoming increasingly difficult for him to be able to even get any work done at all, because, of course, the previous administration had plunged Kaduna into such debts that even to pay salaries of workers have become a near impossibility. Based on information available to us, the debts that Kaduna has to service, it uses whatever it gets from the federal allocation revenue from the federation. It uses about 70% of that to service debts. That means if they were to get 10 billion, they will be getting about 3 billion. And 3 billion is less than the money to even pay wages of workers. So he had no choice at the point than to raise this alarm, because if he were to have kept quiet, naturally the people of Kaduna will continue to blame him for being the dullest of governors, for being a non-performing governor. And at the end of the day, El-Rufai will continue to look good, because no matter what's going on now, we know that El-Rufai actually in his time opened up Kaduna State with a lot of projects he developed. Now, to what extent did those projects pass through due process? How transparent was it? We know that at some point when lawmakers, federal lawmakers from Kaduna State, people like Senator Nkuyi, even Senator Sani, what's his name now? Shehu Sani, and a few others opposed El-Rufai's attempt at that time to take a loan from the World Bank of $350 million US. They all opposed it, and they got into El-Rufai's black book, and he did everything within his power to also ensure that most of them were retired politically from the Senate. So you find that even in the twilight, about a few weeks before he left office also, he took another loan of about 2 billion naira. Now, these are things that call to mind the kind of leadership we have. Because if you say you work to have somebody succeed you, you worked to get him in office, and yet you have hamstrung him by tying his two hands backward, and you're asking him to run the race of delivering the dividends of democracy to the people of Kaduna, then it will be most unfair. And that's the reason, godfathers, you are leaving, you get someone in, no sooner than the person takes over, the person sees that you have only succeeded in messing him up, and so he comes out and begins to speak. And El-Rufai has his time. He should not be actually doing this defense on the pages of newspaper. He's been invited already. Let him go before the panel. You must understand that once you have been in governance, you are in leadership position, you are held to account. Every leader must know that they will be held to account.
On the front page of the, I think it's Daily Trust, stomach infrastructure, more crucial to Nigerians. That's the former president, rather, Obasanjo speaking. And if you go to the Telegraph, New Telegraph, it says, reps to FG, we want living, not minimum wage for workers. And I think there's another paper, I can't quite place it now, where the House of Reps was saying that the government should give the Nigerian worker a living, not minimum. And then what bugs you is why all these things are not done proactively instead of hindsight when labor starts to, strike or riot, as the case may be. Lemmy.
Well, where we are is like catch-22. It's like between the devil and the deep blue sea. Obasanjo, I would align myself with him. Yes, Nigerians now more than ever before are unable to feed. So yes, you must attend to stomach infrastructure. Every other thing you are trying to do, you want to do all the good road network, all the coastal ways. You want to do it for citizens who are alive and who are living. Poverty dehumanizes totally, and Nigerians are immersed in poverty. Increasingly so, much more than the 143 million Nigerians living in multidimensional poverty in Buhari's time. Now more people are falling into that index, and yes, we must deal with issues around feeding. That's the reason we must be concerned too about what's going on, even with labor and government now. We can see that they say the Minister of Finance is going to be submitting the template for payment for salary increment to the president today. But another paper tells you that talks have stalled because they are unable to agree on an increase. So all of that points to one fact, that citizens will continue to struggle with how to feed, and that's why Obasanjo's statement remains very germane. But there are crucial things. When you are talking about salary increase, remember we've on this platform, I've said it repeatedly, that what workers are to really agitate for, it's not even as much a salary increase, because salary increase of 1 million naira today as minimum wage will not solve any problem. Inflation will come in, a lot of things. So what labor I expect, because in all of this negotiation is just about increase our money. Why is labor not holding the government's feet to the fire on issues around our refineries? Why is labor not talking about our public education system and the public health system, which is where whatever money, whatever increase is done, this is where our funds get consumed. And remember, the government workers are barely, at best, between 20 and 30% across the nation. The rest of the workers are in the private sector, about 70%. Who is going to be able to meet that when companies, when small businesses are folding up in droves, when they are barely, in fact, a lot of them even borrow money to survive? So I think that we need to begin to also call on our lawmakers to do the right thing. One of the right things, how will public education system work? Because to send your child to an average primary school now, that is fairly decent primary school, you'll be paying about at least 200,000 naira as a private school fee. Now, if you are doing that, how much will be paid to you to be able to live properly and take care of your bills? So what we ought to do now is to begin to negotiate and discuss the fact that public office holders, politicians, lawmakers, if you are in public office, we must get to a point where we can amend our constitution, our laws, to say that your children cannot go abroad to school. Even if they remain in Nigeria, the law should be adjusted that they will go to public schools. If lawmakers, if politicians, if public office holders have their kids in public schools in Nigeria, they will make sure that the education system at the public level works. That way, civil servants, workers will be able to pay little or nothing in public system. The same thing for health. People, big men have headache, they are traveling abroad to Germany or wherever. We must be a people who are ready to move our country forward. And the only way we can do that is to get lawmakers who are also being able to be held accountable, so that they will pass laws like that, because our education and our public health system will not work so long as we continue to say the Constitution of the Republic of Nigeria allows you freedom of association, freedom of movement, because those who will amend the Constitution are the lawmakers, are the big men who actually benefit from having the country not run in the proper direction.
Let me thank you so much for your thoughts with us this morning. And that's the press review. For more, follow us on X at Arise TV.